they are already sending the political leadership. If you've like unpacked their statements, they're already sending like signals that they want a de-escalation, etc. At this moment they need a face saver. You have to see the past patterns. Past patterns are very much important.
The Pakistan army is different from all the other armies. Army that knows it cannot defeat India, but it wants to engage India.
I think we have been successful in case of Maulana Masood Azhar. Is the military option the only option that India should exercise, or the first option that India should exercise?
Hello everyone, I'm Neena Gopal. Welcome to Global Express. This is our weekly look behind the scenes on events that impact India. Today, we revisit the aftermath of the Pahalgam payback in a display of India's ability to inflict major damage deep inside Pakistan without entering Pakistan territory as it did during Balakot. India unleashed the evocatively named Operation Sindhoor on its neighbor in the early hours of Wednesday. It was a new kind of war completely. It was payback for Pahalgam for sure. It was payback for the massacre of 26 innocents, payback for the women and children who lost their fathers and husbands and sons. This was retaliation of a scale and magnitude that has not been seen on the India-Pakistan war front in the last 4 wars that both countries have fought, including Kargil. The Indian Army and the Indian Air Force took 15 days to respond to Pahalgam. But when they did, the newly acquired Rafales, the Mirage 2000s, and the Sukhois fighters unleashed long-range missiles and smart glide bombs from air bases deep in India. We reportedly used our airborne early warning aircraft as our eyes and ears, and the Indian Army deployed its drones for the long-range strikes. As the May 7th missile and drone strike that took out these terrorist infrastructure headquarters of these two terror groups show, the Jaish-e-Mohammed seminary in Bahawalpur was quite a surprise because it's 100 kilometers from the LOC. The Lashkar-e-Toiba is based in Murudke, of course, is only 25 kilometers from the international boundary. But other than that, including all of these 9 locations, India's Defense Minister, Rajnath Singh, has said that they've taken out 100 terrorists. But is that the end of it, is what we should be asking today. Should that be the end of it? Because Pakistan's military intelligence complex draws its terror recruits from the seminaries, from its madrasas that it backs and funds and supports. We've taken out 9, but hundreds more exist. Do we wait for Terroristan to recoup, to retaliate? Do we believe Operation Sindhoor is enough? So India's strike constituted a high-intensity use of force against Pakistan, perhaps the biggest since the 1971 war between the two countries. But the strikes, to my mind, should be seen as part of a long-term plan by India that aims to root out cross-border terrorism once and for all. Talking to us today are 3 experts in Jammu and Kashmir and the conflict engineer from Terror Central. Maj Gen Jagatbir Singh is a highly decorated second-generation army officer. He's held various command, staff, and instructional appointments across varied terrains. He's a prolific writer. He's a prolific commentator, distinguished fellow with the USI India, and the author of Armor 71. Welcome, General.
Thank you very much, Neena. Thank you very much for having me on this show.
You're welcome. Also with us is the noted expert and columnist on Pakistan, Mr. Avinash Mohananey, who served both in Kashmir and in Pakistan when he was with the Intelligence Bureau. He's an ex-Pakistan expert like few others. Welcome, Mr. Mohananey.
Thank you. Thank you, Neena. Thank you for it.
And Luv Puri, the award-winning South Asia journalist and analyst on both domestic and international affairs. He's reported for various publications in India and abroad. He's worked extensively with the United Nations and one of the few people who was given access to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. That must have been extremely interesting. Thank you for coming on the show, Mr. Puri.
Thank you, Neena. Always a pleasure.
The first question to you is, General, I really want to look at this, the optics. Everyone is going on about the optics of Operation Sindhoor because it's ticked all the right boxes. The 2 women officers who spoke at the press conference showing solidarity with the women who lost their husbands and fathers and sons. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is definitely the master of messaging, and he's driven home the message that it was innocent Indian civilians who were the victims of Pakistan terror. But Pakistan being caught by surprise in this manner is a huge surprise to me. I mean, I'm not an army person, so I don't really get this. I mean, India took 14 days to react. It gave Pakistan enough and more time to put its forces on alert. Could you explain to our viewers why the Pakistan Air Force did not see it coming? Do they not have the technology to monitor incoming missiles, incoming drones, or when our fighter jets get airborne? Or was it a deflection? Were they distracted by Prime Minister Modi's water wars, the trade war, and all of this? So, what do you see happen? What do you see as the reason behind them not seeing this missile, the 25-minute missile war? Barrage, sorry.
Okay, so I'll just go a little bit back in time, a little bit. So the first thing I want to say is that, there's huge amount of symbols which have been there right from the naming of this operation itself. Sindhoor to, talk about the women who have lost their husbands in Pahalgam and the strike itself, and then the press conference which was conducted by the army and the air force women officers who participated in that, the Colonel Qureshi and Wing Commander Goima Singh. So I mean that's something. They're all symbols being shown. So it's not only a muscular response, so to say, that But what you've talked about is something which I want to highlight a little bit. So you mentioned, various wars that we fought with Pakistan. The last major war we fought with Pakistan, we fought 4 wars with Pakistan, and each war has started and unfolded in a different manner, and all of them were, started by Pakistan in a different manner. So I won't go into the history of each one of that. The last major war was 1999, which was restricted entirely to the LOC, where one of the red lines which were given to the not red line, the term of reference specifically in military terminology, which were given to the armed forces was you were not allowed to cross the line of control.
I
After
see.
that, we've seen a series of attacks which were carried out on Indian personnel, notably the attack on Parliament, which resulted in a large-scale mobilization of troops under Operation Parakram. Thereafter, you had the Mumbai attacks, you had uh, the attack on Uri Brigade headquarters, you had the attack at Pulwama, and you had the now the Pahalgam attack. Now, within these three, you see how the evolution of the
Correct.
military response has taken place, and that is something that is very interesting. So, the first time you responded was in after the Uri attacks, where you responded by a shallow ground surgical strike carried out by ground troops restricted to the line of control. So, shallow ground troops restricted to a military sort of target on the across the line of control. The second time we responded was after 2019, to be precise, on 26 Feb, you responded, and that was with an airstrike which targeted
I'm sorry. So
Balakot. Now, Balakot was in targeted. It was one center targeted by an aircraft by air in which the force crossed the line of control and hit a target in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Now, what you've targeted is something completely different. So you see the scale, the range, the width being expanded, and the weapons used. Reportedly, our own aircraft have not crossed the international border or the line of control. They used these missiles and all from standoff distances, and they targeted 9 targets in both POK and Punjab. Now, Punjab represents the center, is the heartland of Pakistan. So you just see where you've done it. You've gone right into the so-called, the Pakistan chief talked of going for the jugular in his speech to the overseas Pakistan citizens some time ago, very provocative speech. And now what you've done is you've gone right for their so-called the center of gravity, their heartland. And I must say that this was an extremely well coordinated attack launched, because it is not only the three services that launched it, but over a period of time, you would have gathered substantial intelligence on these targets to carry out these precise strikes. Now, that's something that is not being talked about openly and being discussed in that detail. But without that, you look what you've done. You've hit a target, you've demonstrated your political will to go for these targets. You've hit it in a precise, coordinated, clinical manner. You've hit them in their heartland. And just look at the selection of these targets. Bawalpur, headquarters of JEM, also the headquarters of one of their corps, 31 Corps. You hit Muridke, just outside Lahore, the epicenter of the headquarters of the LET near the Lahore Corps. Then you hit targets near Sialkot, where another major offensive formation of theirs resides. So, I mean, you've hit these targets, and from these places, terror has emanated over the years. So, look at the message you're sending. You're not only hitting launch pads now, you're saying we're going to the heart of where this jihadi terror emanates from within Pakistan. And you've done it in a very clinical, in a very professional manner. And uh, I'd also like to say that we have been signaling our intent over a period of time. It isn't that something has happened unannounced. We can go back to a statement by the Home Minister who said once, "हम उनके घर में घुस के मारेंगे." I think that was what he said exactly. I may be a little off, but
Yeah.
basically he said, "घर में घुस के मारेंगे." It means we'll go inside
Yeah,
there. Now
but
this was
General, the
earlier.
point.
And after the Pahalgam attack, the Prime Minister very clearly said, "We will take action. We'll get after the terrorists. We'll get after those behind the terrorists. And what we'll do will be something beyond the imagination." And I think we need to recognize the professionalism and the manner in which the three services have carried out and pulled off this.
Okay, fine. So, General, we agree with all the points that you've made. It's been a spectacularly attack, arranged attack, very coordinated, very well calibrated, very well crafted, and the messaging, of course, has gone through that India is not going to take any more
Yeah.
of these kind of cross-border
So now
attacks.
the next question that you asked is that by targeting and successfully targeting, I look at the manner, the difference between Balakot and now, how we have grown. That time we targeted it, Pakistan denied anything. They said only a crow has died, a tree has been damaged. Now
That's
we
right.
had photographs to show the target after the first strike, after the second strike, after the third strike, after the fourth strike. All that was shown. So look at your strategic signaling that is gone. And of course, you've shown that you've been able to penetrate their missile defense systems. You've been
Yes,
able to
yes.
penetrate their missile defense systems. So that's something that is extremely, extremely credible, and it must be concerning to them and must also be concerning to the Chinese who have provided them much of these missile defense.
That's right. We'll come back to China in a minute. Mr. Avinash Mohananey, if you could just take us through what do you see happening next? Because the Pakistan spokesperson has said that Pakistan will decide when and how to retaliate. And the Lashkar headquarters that was hit was within the vicinity of the Rawalpindi military headquarters. That is extremely close.
Look, first, I think we are heading for a de-escalation because both NSAs have spoken, number one. Number two, two ministers of the government of Pakistan have said that whatever retaliation we had to do, we have done. They claim that they have downed our 5 aircraft and a drone. We don't know the truth. We don't know the facts about it. But from their side, they have said that our retaliation is over. And besides, they targeted Punch town, and there have been casualties in Punch town. They claim that they targeted the brigade headquarters in Punch, but we don't know about it. We don't have any news about it. Then there was some movement of drone on both sides without any payload. So those drones falling here and there in Indian side and Pakistani side. So that our entire game is now over. So after both NSS have spoken, so I'm expecting a de-escalation. My point is a bigger point. My point is that we are on an escalatory ladder with Pakistan now. As General said that first we had surgical strike. It was a mild incursion in Pakistan. Then we had Balakot strike that was going into Pakistan because Balakot is in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And now we have the escalatory ladder of bombing 9 sites. Pakistan says 6 sites, but 9 sites. So what happens?
No, but then how do you see a de-escalation? Because these 9 sites have been attacked, and Pakistan is now saying they've downed our, our aircraft, our fighter aircraft. But of course, there's no, confirmation of that on our side, and there's no pictorial evidence, to prove that they have brought these down, because the story has been peddled by Reuters and New York Times, both of which are quoting people to say that they've seen wreckage. And somebody has said that this wreckage, another report says that this wreckage is actually goes back to 2000 and something, some years ago. So it's not really factual. So, I mean, I'm just asking the big question, who and what are they going to talk? I mean, what are they going to talk about? Do the two NSAs actually have something to talk about? Because the DGMOs are reportedly were also in touch before our May 7th attack.
Okay. Look, right now it is to cool down temperatures on the both sides. And the dialogue or the restoration of what measures we took and what Pakistan took will be the next step. Like keeping the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, they are keeping the Shimla Agreement in abeyance, or our side reducing the size of the Pakistan High Commission in Delhi, and they doing the same tit for tat in Pakistan. So this has been this de-escalation, which is immediate. The old one escalation after the after August 5, 2019, where the high commissioners were withdrawn, the staff strength was reduced. That is still a long way to go. My point is that there is a way to de-escalate. And you have seen that the ceasefire on the line of control and the international border that was brokered by the United Arab Emirates has been holding for now last 4 years. So it was expected that the two countries will build on this peace initiative and resolve the outstanding issues step by step. But nothing of that sort happened. So what my point is that in case there is another attack, then what are we going to do? Now we attacked the Jaish headquarters. Now we have attacked the Lashkar headquarters. I agree that all the locations, these were all of terror groups.
That's right.
Known when I was working in the government, that time also, these were the same locations that were in our notice. So these were not new locations. But
they've been around for 25 years.
And second thing is that these are not the people who are creating terror in India. The people who are creating terror in India are Rawalpindi and Abbara, the army and ISI. We have not touched anything of them. So killing foot soldiers or killing one of their leaders, even if we succeed, we have not been able to succeed, ISI will produce another leader. ISI will have an unending stream of cannon fodder available for... So this is the issue. We are only postponing the crisis. The crisis is looming large. If we say there are about, some say 100 foreign terrorists in Kashmir, some say 120, 150, whatever the number. I'm not going into the number. But they are not there for holidays or for picnic. So what instructions they will get from
Okay.
Pakistan henceforth?
Now I can. That's very interesting, Mr. Mohananey, because that's exactly what I was also getting to, in the sense that, we haven't, are we taking this to the fullest, extent where we are only attacking and bringing down empty buildings? A lot of these buildings were emptied of the madrasas were emptied of their occupants. And even there is a charge, of course, that Pakistani journalists are saying that one of the first things we attacked in Bahawalpur was a hospital, and where we got women and children. So I don't know how far that is true, because a lot of charges are flying back and forth. Mr. Luv Puri, if I can come to you, there is a lot of talk about the fact that the Pakistan polity and the Pakistan army are basically not speaking from the same playbook, because the Pakistan civilians and the Pakistan elected, leaders do not want a ruptured relationship with India. It suits the army because they're saying that because it brings the army in, makes Kashmir an issue again. And although General Munir is supposed to be in control, there is also a bit of a buzz that within the army, the garrisons are also sort of not completely happy with this development. And the contrast that I wanted to raise is with 2611, because when President Asif Ali Zardari, he was president then too, he did send a team to sort of work with the Indian government, although they didn't. They did bring out a dossier in which they acknowledged that Pakistan terrorists had taken part in that attack. So, does Pakistan army have political support? I mean, at this current moment for this kind of confrontation with India?
Uh, Thank you, Neena. Yeah, it's a difficult situation right now. But picking up, I echo what the general said, like, in terms of, like, he charted out the chronology of it. And also, I'll pick up, as linked to the question you asked, what Avinash just mentioned. You're talking about the polity. One part of the polity is the political leadership. And I think in terms of, it relates to the question you asked before, that what happens next. They are already sending the political leadership. If you've like unpacked their statements, they're already sending like signals that they want a de-escalation, etc. It's the I think and they may not have, that comes to your question. They would not have said that without the permission of the Pakistani military, because obviously their CCS had met, and then after that Shahbaz Sharif made that statement in the parliament. One was like, he said that we were responsible in knocking down 5 Indian planes, and we have defended, we have already retaliated. Then another stroke he
Yeah.
says he says, okay, we'll retaliate. So there's a big room over there. But whatever the room has been charted out, it cannot be charted out without Pakistani military. So in that respect, anyone who's interacted with the Pakistani leadership, or like people like Avinash here, have lived in Pakistan, will know that at this moment they need a face saver. you know and I think India has done a wonderful job in that respect. When they came out with that first statement, we have done this, we didn't target the civilian and military leadership, installations. And this is what we wanted to achieve, and we have done that. And also India didn't respond to, like, okay, we have our jets, etc., haven't fallen down. They need a face saver right now. And I don't think, and both, India has achieved what it wanted to achieve. We can go into it, like, whether it really solves the problem of terrorism or not. But for the tactical sense, we achieved. So give them that face saver right now, what they need, so that it's the question of appeasing your domestic constituencies. Because ultimately, as you rightly said, that whenever there's a threat from India, everyone comes together behind the army. So this is what has happened. The internal friction, whatever existed in the last 4 or 5 years, Imran Khan, whatever ugly things which we have seen in the last 4 or 5 years, and then the tussle, but intra-political tussle, the what happened in 2 3 years ago, like what happened in Lahore, civilians attacking generals' properties, etc.
Yeah.
What we have done is, like, what has happened is, now it's everyone is rallied behind Pakistani army. So in that respect, our strategy from the Indian side, should be, we have achieved tactically whatever we wanted to achieve. Right now, let them get a face saver. And I think the Indian establishment has done well, not to provoke them, not to challenge their statement, etc. They know, what they're going to say and what their compulsions are. So yes, but to answer your question, at this moment, everyone will be behind Pakistani army, because they see, it's, India is like, has been,
You know what
yeah.
fascinates me right now is the fact that the international community and the Western press have failed to call out Pakistan, for creating this terroristan, so to speak. I mean, it took a 9/11 for the West to come alive to Osama bin Laden and undertake a undertake an Abbottabad, actually attack, and capture him and kill him. And similarly, it took it to Mumbai 26/11 for the world, and that parliament attack, for the world to sort of acknowledge that there is a problem across the border. But, in this time, the international press has not weighed in on India's side. Why is that? Because even if Pakistan says India has provided no proof, I mean, India is not going to kill its own, I mean, it's not going to blow up its own narrative, on the abrogation of statehood being bringing peace to the valley, in this manner. So how does India nail this Pakistan ISI military terror narrative? I mean,
Yeah.
we've heard nothing.
Absolutely. Like, it's, it goes back to, like, what we thought was normal all these years, 90s. We use this term called cross-border terrorism, and everything gets lumped into that. I get back to what I, said earlier, like in your show. you know things, things were already building up, before the Pahalgam attack. And there's something called, there's an interdisciplinary theory, chaos theory, butterfly effect. Like, slowly and slowly things build up, and then you are suddenly shocked by a big incident. So this is what has happened. Like, when infiltration is taking place one by one, India's counter, apart from your, beefing up your technology, etc., getting your best minds, how can, you can detect it, you can prevent it, you can, you can eliminate, at the, along the IB and the LOC. What happened was, that was, I wouldn't call it business as usual, but, like, whosoever was tracking 3 years or 4 years, knew that, these guys are coming in and there's going to be a big attack. Then our normalcy narrative, we talked about it earlier too.
Yes.
I think we got complacent there. But at the same point, the threat was already there. Like, as you rightly said, for anyone who's covered these incidents for the last, not 25 years, 35 years. I remember going to Kotli. One of the hosts told me that, this is a, at that point of time there was peace process, so things were very different. I'm talking about the Musharraf Manmohan Singh dialogue time. So Kotli, this is the training ground where the Lashkar guys are trained. He even pointed out to some guy who was sitting over there, the Lashkar guy. So even Muzaffarabad, one of the sites that had been attacked, was a training ground, near the mosque. There's a ground, where they're trained, etc. So even there,
Yes.
Jamaat al Dawa, during the earthquake, I think if that's the place, they were trained. So, this infrastructure is there. So I think in our counter narrative, what happens is, when we build up a narrative of normality to the world, that, all is honky dory, in Jammu and Kashmir, and, they think, okay, everything is fine. And suddenly Pahalgam happens. So it's very difficult for the international community, primarily the West. Their bandwidth is, okay, India says, we had G20s in Srinagar, everything is normal. and at once, like, you are like saying that, there's terrorism, and then Pakistani, it's a default position. Okay, give us the proof. In the, in 15 or 20 attacks, the major terrorist attacks, you may have gone proof for what all attacks. Bombay attack, because you were able to, catch hold of Kasab. Then there was one more
Yes.
attack. There was a attack in Jammu and Kashmir. There's a place called Qasim Nagar. It's also called Rajiv Nagar, where 28 slum dwellers were killed in 2002. And
Oh,
that there were like two Pakistani nationals who had carried out that massacre of 28 to
yeah.
29. And then, after like 15, 20 days, like, one of them was killed, and the second one was it was a Gujar Muslim guy who was
Oh,
able to nab that guy, because that when that terrorist entered the house of that Gujar guy, his name was Kaka, I think, and he was like able to get hold of him, tie him with a rope on a cot, and police was
my
informed. and
God.
and when that guy was like, when police presented that guy before the media, I remember asking the question, where are you from, etc. And then he said, I'm from Multan, like a, lanky
Yeah.
guy, a 19-year-old or 18-year-old. So that was the second guy, who had been nabbed in a major terrorist strike, apart from, Kasab. And then they were like, Kaluchak attack. Okay, we got those cinema tickets. So,
Yes.
so in these attacks, you're not going to find these guys who have carried out the attack. They're going to vanish. They have
That's
already done the
right.
reconnaissance, and maybe these guys are back, wherever
Yeah.
their routes are. So, and this is the narrative you have to build. You have to tell the international community what's the topography, what are the constraints. It's not a murder that, you're going to nab a murderer and say, okay, this is the forensics, okay, this is it. You have to see the past patterns. Past patterns are very much important, in this particular
Yes.
case. So I think
Absolutely.
it's a broader narrative, strategic narrative, which India has to present before the international community, and don't, you shouldn't lose
And
sight
not
of the
hold back.
yeah, don't lose sight of the challenges, and don't get into this vortex of normality. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. General, if I can come back to you, this whole the choice of India making, targeting non-military targets, it's apparently sanctioned under the United Nations Charter of Self-Defense. I mean, but my question basically is that why choose non-military targets? I mean, what does that really serve? What purpose does that serve? And Pakistan, if it wants to, would it turn that around military targets? Because that is what a lot of buzz is in among the Pakistan journalistic community. They've been saying that that we are looking at targets which will not be civilian at all. I mean, is it misinformation, or is it Pakistan rattling our cage, sort of, so to speak? What do you think?
Yeah, Neena, before I come on to this question, I want to just cover one point that has been raised, and that you talked about the Pakistan army looking for political support. Now,
Uh-huh.
this is something where, have my own view entirely. And I keep mentioning this time and time again, that the Pakistan army is different from all the other armies.
That's true.
Most
No, I
armies,
don't.
and
I
this
didn't
is
say
the,
that they were looking for
yeah.
political support. I said,
So,
do they have?
you know, I don't think they're interested in political support, because
Correct.
within Pakistan, the political parties themselves, what is more important for them, which has been clearly demonstrated by the Imran Khan episode, is not the confidence and the support of the people. That is not winning elections is important, but the confidence and support of the Pakistan army is far greater importance to them. And I think this is something that is demonstrated. Now, your point regarding the targets, the selection of the targets was done with a great thought, a lot of thought behind it. And we wanted to say that we are not escalating it. So earlier we targeted launch pads, which now we felt that just by targeting launch pads, we won't be achieving anything. So we'll target the, so-called breeding grounds of terror, which are their headquarters and all. So we targeted those precisely, and very unlike how uh, Israel targeted Gaza, we went in a precise manner to avoid collateral damage, and we've hit them when it's hurts. And you've also seen images of, uh, tweets or whatever of people saying that, so many family members of a particular terrorist have been killed. So, I mean, that's something that we need to say. And the other thing to highlight Pakistan, look at the President Pakistan DGISI. He has been made the NSA. General Asim Malik is today the NSA also. So just look at the nexus of this, inter thing between the Pakistan Army, the Pakistan security establishment, the ISI, and these sort of terrorists. So that's something that. Next is that when we made a statement after the attacks, we said that we deliberately targeted non-military targets, the terrorist camp, and in that, one of the last lines was the manner in which now we hope that matters will de-escalate. And I think our foreign minister, Dr. Jaishankar, has also gone on record to say that he hoped this would be de-escalating steps in future. But that was,
General, you also have General Asim Munir, the military chief, saying that he will take out India's military targets. He has actually said that.
yeah, so two
How
Pakistan
seriously should we
ministers
take him?
talked of de-escalation, whereas he's saying that we will take on military targets. Now, what happened last night? Last night, they targeted various locations, which are mainly, you can say, the forward military air bases or forward military areas within India. They targeted right. So the first thing they did was they opened up on the LOC. There's a ceasefire existing. They opened up intense artillery fire on the line of control, and they've been intense firing in places like Punch, Rajouri, Kupwara, and images are there on the screen. A lot of civilians have died in that. Some soldiers have also been killed. But apart from that, they launched drones into places like Amritsar, places like Bhatinda, places like Adampur, places. There are reports of going towards Bhuj. So I mean, this was done. But the thing is that a lot of these drones were stopped. And today, what has action has been taken is our own drones have targeted Pakistan, what we call a SEAD operation, suppression of enemy air defense assets, in which
That's
we've
right.
targeted places like uh, Lahore, and for
Lahore.
the first time, we have targeted Rawalpindi. Now,
Yes, the cricket stadium in
Avinash
Rawalpindi.
will tell you very clearly that Rawalpindi is close to Islamabad, but it is the GHQ, the general headquarters of
Yes,
Pakistan, lies in Rawalpindi. So, I
that's
mean, that's
right.
something, yeah, very symbolic. So, we have gone, but the fact is, like you said,
It's where
it,
the army chief also
yeah,
lives. Because
yeah,
that's
he
I
lives
remember
there.
when
He
I
lives there.
interviewed
In fact,
Musharraf.
Musharraf stayed there throughout his
Correct,
tenure, as the
correct.
chief executive of Pakistan. But the problem is that, as some commentators have also asked, and that can be an entirely different subject of my discussion, you need a lot of time. Do we have the means and ability to inflict such a defeat on Pakistan so that it changes its behavior? Now, Christine Fair, who's a person who writes extensively on South Asia, she's lived in Pakistan. One of her most interesting books is, on Pakistan, called Fighting to the End. She's saying, killing these terrorists and all is like mowing a lawn. So you mow a lawn and they come up again. So I mean, and she calls Pakistan, very interestingly, calls the Pakistan army an insurgent army. So what do you
Oh,
mean by that? So she was asked this question, and she says it's an army that knows it cannot defeat India, but it wants to engage India. So this is, and how is it engaging India? Through its proxies, which you've seen. So this is something that
yeah.
we need to, you know. So
Look
I
at.
think this time the message has gone across in a far, you know, with a far greater manner, which shows our resolve, shows our willingness to attack, and shows
That's
our
true. That
technical,
that's
logical
true.
sophistication. So I think we've taken a step higher in the escalatory ladder, as has been
Yeah.
told.
Let's hope we're not standing on the edge of a precipice. Mr. Mohananey, if I could come to you, like I said, when we released all these terrorists, when Rubaya Saeed was kidnapped, we let out Masood Azhar, and when the Kandahar IC 814 happened, hijacking happened, we released more terrorists. All of these people are the masterminds behind the terror infrastructure. And surely, it is they who we should be looking at. I mean, at dealing with. Shouldn't we actually have cases against them, or some kind of, something which they declared international terrorists, just like Osama bin Laden was?
I think we have been successful in case of Maulana Masood Azhar. We have built a dossier. Everybody knows this. Nothing that the international community doesn't know. The second person that was arrested, released, was Omar Syed Sheikh. Omar Syed Sheikh was involved in the Daniel Pearl
killing,
kidnapping and murder. And he has completed his term. He was given a death sentence, but that was reduced to life imprisonment. He has undergone, and he has been quietly released, Omar Syed Sheikh. And three were released. The third was Mushtaq Zargar. Mushtaq Zargar has been by and large silenced. He is sitting quietly in Muzaffarabad, and he's not doing anything. Now, the issue is why Masood Azhar becomes important for them. Pakistan ISI, if it has to operate an terror network, it needs some people who can religiously indoctrinate these boys, make rebel rouser kind of speeches, and then train them and then send them to India. So if Masood Azhar is not there, they will pick up somebody else. So it is not that the Masood Azhar is the only one important person for Pakistan. He is equally an expendable commodity. He can be thrown to dumps. Absolutely, he was thrown to dumps when there were 2 assassination attempts on President Musharraf.
Exactly.
Because they thought that perhaps he was involved. And this is how the Ilyas Kashmiri also got disconnected with the Harkat network, because he was also arrested, picked up, and finally killed in a drone strike by the Americans. So my point is that, one, is the military option the only option that India should exercise, or the first option that India should exercise? Because we have to go to the broader picture. Have we given up on the diplomatic pressure as we used it in 2611? We had Ajmal Kasab with us, and the international community recognized it. The payment to the terrorists, to the Lashkar, all these were tracked, and a solid case was built. And that brought Pakistan much more under pressure than I think these military strikes will be able to do so. So my hunch is that let us work on the working out of Pahalgam case.
So you're basically saying that we should go back to pressuring the FATF or persuading the FATF.
Yes.
The fact
military option is one option, but diplomatic option, the legal option, the information option, these all options should be simultaneously used. So,
but we did, Mr. Mohananey, just to button, I'm sorry to button, but we did also have come up against the, the UNSC discussion, where when the blame was, when India tried to introduce the phrase about the fact that the resistant front had taken responsibility for the attack, that was not even in the document that was finally read out.
Yeah, so I agree with you. So what we have to do is that we have to generate evidence. We have to carry out investigation in Pahalgam attack, and then present the complete dossier to the international community. Pakistan may not listen to us, but doesn't matter. The international community will see it. So it will register to some extent. So it is not that the international community is just blind to our request. It is not. We have been successful in the past using the diplomatic option. Prime Minister Vajpayee was successful after the Kargil. Manmohan Singh was successful after the 26/11. So why we are giving up this option? So I think military option is one option. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But it's a punitive kind of option. But the other options should not be given.
Yeah. Okay. If I can come to you, Mr. Puri, you know that CNN anchor who actually tackled the Khwaja Asif, that minister, about when he said that that these 5 Rafales had been that Pakistan had downed these Rafale jets, but he couldn't actually provide any proof. She did ask that same minister, Khwaja Asif, whether Chinese equipment had been used to down the Rafales. And he couldn't actually say anything satisfactory. He couldn't even remember the name of the equipment that was used. But how much of military equipment from China does Pakistan have? And apart from these JF fighter jets, what is the position of China going to be? Because we all understand where Turkey is coming from. There's a question mark now over Pakistan relying on the Arab countries, the Gulf Arab countries, which are no longer with them 100%, like the UAE and Saudi Arabia have all cautioned them against escalation. So my question basically is that, where does Pakistan stand internationally?
See definitely if we go through the empirical evidence, the Pakistani dependence on the Chinese weaponry has increased in the last 10 years. Stockholm Institute of, I think, there's a, they come out with the, yeah, you're right. So I think New York Times also published it 2 days ago or 3 days ago or something like that, citing those figures. So the dependence has increased, it's massively increased, tilted towards China. Whereas India's dependence on Russia is declining, but still it's first and foremost. But the dependence on France, Israel, and the US, that is increased. So definitely, this dependence on China is is there, and I think. If you see the Pakistani mindset right from 1960 to 2025, or even before 1950s, they always had this calculus, in their calculus, the China factor, and they have leveraged that again and again. If you go through the records of 1965 war, etc., China didn't come out in the open, but okay, they did some thing on a line of like near the Sikkim border, so that that diverted a portion of the Indian troops over there. So I think and then you saw in 2019 abrogation of Article 370. They were the ones who were asking for the UNSC briefings. Then there's a question of sanctions committee, because I've seen that process rolled out at
So
the UN
basically, you're
headquarters.
saying that China will always bat for Pakistan.
Yeah, so that is there. So the Pakistani position at the international level, right now, obviously, the US is like, has its own agenda going on, like the specialists of on each and every region, on South Asia, etc. That cream doesn't exist, because many, the US system is different, because with every administration you are like a team of specialists which are hired for that 4-year tenure. And it's the 4-year tenure is extended if the president is re-elected. So right now it's in, the system is like, for a lack of a proper word, that's in shambles. So right now the international order is such, like picking up what earlier panelists said, as Avinash said, like the international mediation at this point, where does the mediation come in? Previously it used to be the US, like 98, when the nuclear thing happened, no, the Kargil thing happened, the Clinton came, he told Nawaz Sharif to come to Washington,
yes,
DC.
he summoned him.
Yeah, he summoned him, de facto. So that happened. Then 2001, Prakram, they were, involved behind the scenes, the Secretary of State. I think Condoleezza Rice was there.
The point I wanted to ask basically was about the fact that how much international support and backing does Pakistan enjoy vis-a-vis its situation right now, and where does India have any backing?
See the right now, obviously there's no uh,
We're batting alone.
yeah, they are on their own, but at the same point, India's position on terrorism is obviously appreciated by many. But obviously, no one, that's the standard talking point of every international actor in the system, that don't let the situation escalate. Okay. And I don't think there's any statement which has condemned India, like, when it comes to these strikes. But when it comes to upping the ante, like, so I think there is going to be like some kind of like a strong international narrative on that. But right now the international system is such that everyone is like on their own, because the big
And
powers. Yeah.
who speaks on behalf of the Kashmiri people? Because right now, Omar Abdullah, I mean, would be the ideal person, who
Hmm.
could be sent out as India's envoy, really. Because I mean, he supports the government completely on the abrogation, and he's been elected with a huge majority. So he really does have the backing of the Kashmiris.
Yeah, sure, he doesn't like support the abrogation, that's a caveat I'll add, like, but at the same point, broadly speaking, I think you're right about that, I think internationally we have to send this signal that this the people of Jammu and Kashmir are with India. And why is that so? Because you have elected leadership, and for that to happen, we again come back to the institutional setup which we have. We need to think about it. As we are done with this crisis, we need to go to the drawing board, look at the this multi-dimensional issues, where this political empowerment, full political empowerment to the elected government, can be one of the options, because that sends a good message to the international community, as you're rightly saying, that you have elected party in power over there, and they're the ones who represent the people like any other democracy. That sends a very good signal. Definitely, I agree with you.
Okay. Because it's taken India 2 weeks to shut down the Kartarpur corridor, and there are reports now, unconfirmed, confirmed. I don't know, of a Gurudwara being attacked, where we don't know. Did we not expect the confrontation to go beyond the LOC to the international boundary as well? I mean, it's a very long border, all the way down from Rajasthan to Gujarat. So I was just wondering, are people is India aware of this contingency, that the weak spot, which is Kartarpur?
I think they won't touch Kartarpur. Kartarpur lies on Pakistan's side. So what the Gurdwara has been attacked is in the Punch, because they targeted the civilian areas in Punch. So Gurdwara was also became target of
Oh, I see.
Pakistan shelling. It's not that they targeted.
It wasn't in Punjab.
So Punjab as such has not been targeted. No, but the point is what we have done. We have crossed the IB, international border. So in the retaliation, obviously, then it's free for all. So then Pakistan can also cross the IB. If we have not done so, when we targeted Shakargarh, Muridke, Sialkot, and then Bawalpur, these are all across the international border. So if we do it, then obviously expect the same thing from them. So they would do it.
Also, the other thing, Mr. Mohananey, which was quite curious, which all the TV anchors have gone on and about, is the fact that they were the chief of army staff in Pakistan sent wreaths, to these when at the funeral of these terrorists, and why do ordinary Pakistanis, in that group? I was looking at the visuals. They also are very supportive of all of these people, which is a bit troubling, don't you think?
Look, I would not believe that those photographs that have come out, because Asim Munir is not going to go to Bawalpur and be present at the funeral of those relatives of Masood Azhar. So I don't believe those photographs and video, because this is so much of, as General said, so much of disinformation going on. So let's
That's true.
not get into those disinformation. But I can tell you that there is no support for terror groups in Pakistan. Masses don't support it. Masses are all normal, neutral people. The people are as good or as bad as we are. So I would not say that they are. The problem is that Pakistan has, over a period of time, created a network where you have people like Masood Azhar, Hafiz Muhammad Saeed, and other. It's not that these two earlier, Fazlur Rahman Khalil was there. Many people were there.
Yes.
What they do is that they hunt for the recruits. They recruit the boys, take them, indoctrinate them, take them to training camps, and after training, etc., give weapons are given by the ISI, and then they are launched to India. So that doesn't mean that the people of Pakistan support these groups. Not the least. Not the least.
That's very interesting. If I
Not
can bring you in, Mr. Puri, on this, I mean, final comments really. I was curious also about the fact that General Asim Munir's chest thumping was quite aggressive. But we also have people in India now quietly reaching out across the border to their families. I think across the LOC. I mean, there is that bond and that link that is there across the border. Because so many families, who live, are separated by the LOC, have used this last 5 years to, be freely walk across the Aman Pass and so on and so forth. Do you think that will now get thrown for a toss because of the current, hostilities?
That has already been thrown to a toss, like, for many years. When it comes to the cross LOC movement, there was, like, that phase, like, for many years, after that LOC,
The
Srinagar
crossing
Muzaffarabad
points.
bus, yeah, started.
Yes, yes.
And there were 4 or 5 points. And obviously, it was a kind of a very good peace dividend, in terms of improvement of relation between the two sides. And at the end of the day, like, we are not talking about it, like, sitting away from this theater, like in Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Calcutta, Bombay, or in the hinterland. We really don't know, like, what really happens, whenever there's a escalation. It is easy. I understand, their raw emotions. It's a very difficult time, whatever. It was a
It is.
moment of national grief when it comes to, what happened in Palgam. But when we, when we think that, the okay, the sentiment is there, like, let's like, eliminate terrorism, once for all, and, use all means. But, we saw this, like, a, this small escalation right now, and who are the sufferers? Is the people living in Punch. It's a bowl. And, the Pakistanis, they can just, like, they wanted to destroy one bridge. It's called Sher Kashmir Bridge, which links Punch with the Kashmir Valley. So, in the process, they also, because when the shells are being, lobbed, it doesn't know, like, where it is going to fall. And, the people who suffered was, like, largely, it's the Muslim population, in Punch.
That's right.
Yeah, most of the people who got killed, they were the Muslims, and they have relatives across. But interestingly, there's a one Molvi who got killed on the Indian side. There was a one Sikh priest who got killed, and Sikhs were also killed there. So I think whenever we talk about these options, etc., we really need to somehow factor in what's the impact of people living in the border areas. People like
Yes.
us who have families along the border, we are terrified. We just can't sleep because we
Yeah.
know that there may be a retaliation. What's going to happen? It's a very difficult times. And also, like, as this is the, I'm the last one who this is the last moment I'll say. So we also have to think, what happens, because seeing the patterns before, what happens if there's one more attack? What are the
Yeah.
options we have? And
Yeah.
seeing the the context right now in Jammu and Kashmir, even if there are like 50, 60, 70 terrorists inside, what happens then? What are the how will we respond? Like, we have targeted these 9 spots, okay,
Yes.
but does it like really take care of our problem? I doubt it.
Yeah.
Like, we need to really think about it, like think long term, like, and continue to calibrate, continue to factor in the new context, and take advantage, as Avinash ji said, take advantage of all the leverages we have diplomatically. FATF, great instrument that really worked. This is a wrong
Yeah.
notion that after Bombay, after Mumbai, India didn't get the advantage. There was a international perception that, okay, Pakistan is a rogue state, we need to take them on. And it got impacted. I've seen it in front of my eyes. FATF is a they were
Great weapon.
yeah, it was a great weapon. Use those leverages internationally, and yes, come out with the evidence, whatever you can collect. I know it's very difficult because they ran away, and it's it's very difficult to have a crystal clear evidence, but infiltration, etc. Collect all the information, put it before the international community, use all leverages. So yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Good point. Good point. If you can wrap up for us, General Mr. Mohananey and Mr. Luv Puri, I basically wanted to also talk about this backroom channel that has opened up, possibly also with the Iranian foreign minister talking to Pakistan and India. Mr. Arakchi arriving in India at the moment. And as you say, the two NSAs talking. Do you think we actually have a path forward? Or is, Pakistan's nuclear saber rattling is also quite worrying, because if push comes to shove, will Pakistan detonate a small nuclear device? Who knows? I mean, is it an empty verbal threat, or is it possible? General, if you could just give us a short comment on that before we wrap up.
Yeah, I'll just give two, three quick points. So, firstly, I agree entirely with what Luv Puri and Avinash have been saying. All leverages of your national security and national policy have to be used. This is what we call as a whole government approach. It cannot be just a military dimension. So whether it's political, economic, diplomatic, and even the press, your communication, you're giving out the correct narrative, you're giving out a responsible narrative. All that matters, and this is extremely, extremely important at this point of time. Next, how can he react? He can react in multiple manners. You see, Pakistan, we must not forget, the Pakistan army is a very professional army, and it's like any other very self-respecting army. So what can his face ever be? Like was brought out, what if there's yet another incident at the sub-conventional level and create another situation in J&K or in another part of India? So how will this be successful or not? Or will he attack a military target? Or will he, attack a civilian target across the line of control, saying that is the thing. Next problem is that, this thing about nuclear weapons. Now, there are many takes on nuclear weapon, and to be put it very honestly, very correctly, very, as not honestly, very simply, nuclear weapons not been used for 80 years. That's a thing which everybody knows.
Yeah.
Nuclear weapons
Yeah.
were used first to end a war, 1945. Used to end a war. After that, nuclear weapons were used throughout the period to prevent a war.
Yes.
That's also true.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
nuclear deterrence to a degree has been turned on its head, where President Putin, because nuclear weapons were used to prosecute a war and prevent the US and European troops from entering Ukraine to fight against them. So that's that.
Mm.
Pakistan uses a thing which has been very correctly brought out by Bruce Rydell. He says they
Yes.
realize they can't engage you conventionally. They want to engage you. So what Prime Minister Bhutto said was that, we will eat grass, but we'll develop a nuclear weapon. They exploded the nuclear weapon soon after us, 1998. And today they're using, they feel that nuclear weapons will protect them from Indian, engaging India in a conventional war. I think we had
That's the same.
with this Operation Sindhoor and earlier Balakot, we've shown them that a window does exist for engaging Pakistan without going nuclear. 1999 was different. It was 1 year after that. We were not, nobody was sure as to how this conflict would pan out. Next is that Pakistan keeps saying they're talking about TNWs, tactical nuclear weapons. My
Yes.
personal thing is that a nuclear weapon, whether it's tactical or whether it's, other means, it is a strategic asset. It's a strategic weapon. It will be used exactly for that purpose. Now, whether Pakistan will risk, India is a very responsible nuclear country. India has a no first use, policy in place, and India is very categorically. I mean, we have not resorted to any nuclear rhetoric throughout. Pakistan has talked of nuclear rhetoric, but they know that our capability of nuclear weapons is to create such devastation that we have it in all three
Yeah, I get that.
domains, and I mean that's something they know that. So if they use any nuclear weapon to then we have the capability to strike back. And I don't think we should get into that realm at all. I think
Well,
this is
but that's
just
still
going to
very
be
interesting.
nuclear saber, actually.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. Clearly, this is a game, the game that Pakistan plays very well. Mr.
Yeah.
Mohananey, any concluding remarks?
Yeah, I would say that it's time to de-escalate, time to tone down, and time to go back to the basics. The basics require that we investigate the case, make a dossier, present it to the international community. Military option we have exercised, but military option is not in any way going to guarantee peace for us, because still the invasion will continue to take place. The boys, the terrorists are already there. Pakistan's policy has not changed. Ground situation has not changed. We have held elections and made a disempowered chief minister who has no power. The lieutenant governor. So we have virtually disenfranchised the people of Jammu and Kashmir. So this
Yes.
can't be sustained. This can't be sustained. So if you don't bring change, or you don't bring change in the ground situation, so then there could be more attacks or more problems. So I think first we have to look inwards and settle our own issues before we go to the international community and say, okay, look what is happening here.
Yeah, that's very well put. Mr. Luv Puri,
Yeah,
what do you have to say? Do you think we have both sides have got a face saver, so to speak, so we can back down?
Yeah, I think excellent points by by two esteemed panelists, because that shows that whosoever's worked on the ground will say that that again uh, put our house in order, like as Avinash said, that empowered CM, counter infiltration, great, strengthen it, perception management, that's the key, like tell to the world that that it's important that this what are the challenges we are facing along the LOC and IB, the infrastructure is intact, etc. Then the Pakistani thing, it's a multi-dimensional problem. I won't go into detail. There's a problem of radicalization over there, which has multiple reasons, etc. And India also becomes a casualty. Again, we have to pick up the whatever intelligence we have, we pick up the the information, blast it before the international community. I think that's very important. And I think what was your question?
No,
I'm sorry.
I basically said that now that both sides have a face
Yeah,
saver,
yeah. So face
can
saver.
can can they step back from the
So,
brink?
Neena, see, like Pakistanis, I don't know, like there's a ambivalence about what they're going to do. Obviously, they won't tell us that what they are going to do, in the next few days. There's whether there's a military retaliation, what kind of retaliation, military assets, civilian, it's still not sure, what's going to happen over there. But if they don't, there are other issues also to be tackled, because there's the abeyance of, we have said that Indus Water Treaty is in abeyance, and then Pakistani has said that there's no Shimla agreement, etc. There's we can start the dialogue over there.
There's
Once
a lot
there's,
to talk about.
yeah, there's this threat to civilian lives, or this military escalation is over, back to pre 20 22nd of April, get back to the drawing board, and take it from there. Obviously it's not that simple. Challenges are going to remain, but yes, take the lessons from here, do your forensics on the Pahalgam attack, and take it forward.
Well, that's very interesting, but I feel that this is Delhi's new long game, because they've raised the costs of Islamabad using terrorism to bleed India, for sure.
I think, yeah, that's fine. This, obviously what was done in 2025, this could not have been possible in 2008, because there's a algorithmic progression in terms of technological change. What we have right now, I don't know, generals will know, General Saab will know it better than me, but what we achieved with no casualties, nothing, no fatality, etc., and targeting those installations, it was even if we have not knocked down the leadership, it's a good signal. Next attack, okay, those people who are thinking about it, they'll think twice about it. So the point is that it's also important, we should be humble at this stage. Whatever
Yes,
is
that's
happening
true.
in the studios right now, at least see the military establishment, or even the entire spectrum of establishment. They've been quiet. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri made that statement to the military officers and the Air Force officer. They made the statement. It's quite, it's also the at least the entire spectrum of the society should also be humble, and should know that what can be done, what cannot be done. So I
That's
think
true.
if there's a need to be for humility, and again, as I said previously, give them that face saver, okay, whatever you've done. So I think the establishment is doing a very good job keeping mum, keeping their talking points to the ground realities, whatever is required.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right. No, that's true. I mean, Pakistan's military intelligence apparatus really clearly needs to be curbed and, shown that they can't keep on attacking India. And if these back channel talks do take off, we'll have to see what points they raise, that they don't go back to the same old, formula, saying terror, no talks, etc. It should be,
And
it should be
Neena,
talks.
interestingly, when it came to NSA talks, that NSA from Indian side, Ajit Doval, and
Yes.
from the Pakistani side, the NSA, who's also the ISI chief, they have at least they had a conversation that came in Pakistani media. Like, I wasn't able to pick up that in the Indian media. So
It's not in the Indian media.
yeah, so today the people have picked it up, but yesterday I saw, I think it was Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan who said that, okay, to, I think, one of the Pakistani channels. So see, yeah, so see, they are, it's again, we are seeing that signals. It's a, maybe they want to de-escalate. I think we need to pick up those threads in a very subtle manner and take it forward, so that this crisis blows over.
Well, let's see where it all goes. We have to wait and watch to see whether there's de-escalation or an escalation. Thank you very much, Maj Gen Jagatbir Singh, for coming on the show. Thank you, Mr. Mohananey. Greatly appreciate your point of view. And thank you, Mr. Luv Puri, for all your incisive and very, very interesting analysis. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Do click on the New Indian Express website and share. Thanks very much.